Lights, camera, action. Those three words all play important roles in creating the perfect shot, but it's that middle word that plays the biggest role. It captures the action itself. It creates memories, visions, and stories. We can thank Steven Sasson for creating what we know as the digital camera. I have the pleasure of knowing one man that will be thanking Sasson more than most, and that man is Thomas Emptage, the man behind the lens. At this point, you may be asking or saying to yourself, who in the heck is Thomas Emptage? Well, if you're my age, which is 20, and love to do some of the things that I love to do, like dance to electronic dance music, then you'll have most likely crossed paths with Tom once or twice before. Tom is a photographer. Not just any old take your camera out and take a quick picture photographer. Tom photographs at big clubs when they hold massive events like Freak Show with Borges, and music festivals like Big Music Fest and Veld. He even does the odd wedding. Yes, he is the one you see standing on the DJ booth, inches from their face with his lens, getting up close and personal that you envy oh so much because you wish you were up there with them. And because they've got a pretty good view. Tom was born and raised in Kitchener, Ontario, and picked up his first camera at the age of 4. Throughout his life, Tom taught himself how to find the quintessential angle with immaculate lighting to create something indescribable. Something so pristine you cannot put it into words. When he was only 16 years old, working in Toronto alongside a friend in a rock band as their technician, Thomas brought his camera to their shows and took photos as only he could. Their manager realized his potential and hired him to take promo shots for other bands across Toronto. But all the exposure and money didn't show up until his first big break, when he started working at Turnt nightclub for the Students' Union at Wilfrid Laurier University. Getting out and working while getting paid every week to do what he loved to do, it is needless to say some great exposure came with his photos. Albums reaching 10,000, 15,000 views posted by Turnt nightclub, his name attached to each picture, he knew he was going to make it in the industry. He was going to be well known. 3 months later, a bigger, more popular nightclub in Waterloo, Beta Nightclub, contacted him for a gig. But before we get into some of Tom's achievements so far, we have to learn why they were pursued in the first place. Where did this whole thing begin? What made him want to pick up that camera? Was it a Viewmaster from a childhood memory? An aspiring picture that he had seen? Maybe even someone in his family? Well, I learned that his dad supported him, encouraged him by buying him an SLR at just 7 years old, giving him a roll of film each week and sending him off into the world to capture moments of life. It's safe to say the roll of film never made it the full week, but Thomas was inspired by his father. But credit is also due to the person he looks up to historically, a man by the name of Robert Capa, a Hungarian war photographer that covered not 1, 2, 3, or 4, but 5 wars. Robert Capa had a saying that Tom loves and swears by that goes,
if your photos aren't good enough, you're not close enough. And his whole idea was that you just had to get in there and get in the action. And that's why when I work, I like to just go and just dive into the crowd and flow through the people if I can, instead of just hiding on stage.
And that's why and how Tom takes the pictures he does. And when you watch him work, you can see the fire in his eyes, striving aimlessly to get that perfect shot. I had to wonder what his first picture could have been that he had ever taken, and what kind of camera he used to take that picture. Was it of his childhood dog? His mother baking in the kitchen? Was it the leaves in their Ruska stage? Was it taken with an old Polaroid? An old Kodiak No. 2 brownie box camera? I was all wrong.
The first picture I ever took was when I was 4. My dad got a pinhole camera. It's just a black box with a hole in the front, a lens, and a little slider that goes up and down. You go in a dark room, red light and all that, and put a piece of photographic paper in the box, and then you go outside and you open the thing up, count to 30, and then close it, and then go back to the dark room, take the paper out, put it in a bunch of chemicals.
What was the picture of?
It was just the parking lot across the street from his house.
Do you have?
Right from the first click, or slide should I say, Tom was hooked to making images still. I know I love to take pictures and have to move my iPhone pictures over to my computer because I always run out of space, but I wondered if Tom took more pictures than an 18-year-old girl. I wondered how many pictures he's ever taken. His response? It dazzled and dazed my brain.
I average between 200 to 500 on a night. But then with my fisheye, it averages anywhere from 200 to 3,000 in a night, depending on how crazy it is. Probably 500,000 is my guess.
So if you haven't put your finger on it yet, Tom is a professional photographer, specializing in nightclub photography. I know myself, and most of us do not have the talent or visual perception skills he does to take professional photographs. Besides the skills required, what kind of camera would I need to buy to have such energetic, spirited, dynamic, and vigorous photographs like his if I did have the aptitude?
Nikon D800 and Nikon D3200.
I have no idea what kinds of cameras these were, but, I went with it. Why he uses these types of cameras, though? I totally understand.
The D800 because it's the best low light camera, and you can bump the ISO the highest and still maintain colors. And colors are pretty important. I lose all respect for any nightclub photographers that use a Canon because there's not enough light in a nightclub. And when they bump their ISO up, everything turns red and really noisy and looks disgusting. And Nikon doesn't do that. Nikon keeps all the pretty colors, and it has more of a film grain than a digital noise look to it. And the D3200, I use it because the fisheye lens on it has an infinity focus point at 3 feet, so I can get
everything in focus, meaning my beautiful face. Only kidding, but knowing what his sidekick, aka camera, can do really conveys in his work. I look back at all the pictures I have of myself and my friends that he's taken and notice the clear, crisp image. The background lighting of neon greens, vibrant oranges, and pinks makes the photo come to life. It's not even about the focal point of the picture with Tom. He truly captures the whole moment. Background personnel, the stage, and most of all the lighting to make the picture truly worth 1,000 words. So, how does it feel to be face-to-face with big DJs like Dubs, Borges, Fetty Legrand, Blau, and everyone I've ever dreamt about being face-to-face with?
Doesn't faze me. I'm trying to think of one that actually did, but I don't know. I've never been a fan of celebrities or any of that. People are just people. I don't know if that's something that helps me or is detrimental to me.
Being in nightclubs with these big DJs, getting few photos taken by Tom myself, I can look back on them or show them to my grandkids and tell them the stories from that night. That being said, is this really Tom's favorite place to make those memories? I know how much Tom loves finding the perfect shot in the club, but where or what else does he love shooting?
Dubs was pretty fun. Just because it was they were the first sort of big DJs that I ever photographed, and it was before Tsunami, and no one really, they were just these guys from Toronto, right? And they were just so ragey and jumping all over the place. It was actually fun to photograph them instead of just someone standing there being wicka wicka. I really enjoy underwater photography. It's something that I do as a hobby and I would like to do more but it's very expensive and not profitable. And I've sort of gotten to the point that I have to rationalize my gear as a tool, not as a toy. Yeah, wildlife. I like to just go for a walk and look for beautiful compositions in nature.
Tom evokes emotion through single images. He is brilliant at it. He is visionary. He can see extraordinary beauty in ordinary scenes, and that beauty conveys in each one of his photos. But there's got to be some downfalls or challenges that come with being as dexterous as he is in his field, right?
And that's the other thing too that's constantly really frustrating is every time I do one of these things, I'm told that I'm supposed to go do it, and then I get there and they have no clue who I am, or that I'm supposed to be working. When I went to Digital Dreams on the first day, they had no clue who I was. I had to show them my emails and all this, and it was just a pain, and it took hours to be able to actually do the job that I was supposed to do. It's a very nerve-wracking job because it's very much feast or famine, and a lot of times I have a lot of anxiety about where work is going to come from next, especially with the state of Pearl right now, right? But at the same time, I seem to be doing all right and getting random bookings. And it's I haven't ever gone out looking for work. It's always just come to me, which is another thing that's been really weird.
He mentioned the word nerve-wracking, and my first thought about walking into the club was the anxiety I get, and I wondered if he ever gets it too. What he told me next gave me a deep respect for him and his work, and made me realize how strong he is with the kind of job he wants to pursue with what he has to overcome every single time he works.
On more of a personal level, I find it kind of weird that I do nightclub photography because I've never been a fan of nightclubs. I'm more of a pub person. And then at the same time, I have agoraphobia and social anxiety and don't do well with people. And before I had this job, I was a huge hermit and didn't really interact with people. I had like 3 friends at school, sort of thing. But then this whole situation has sort of, I don't want to say the limelight, but thrust me into a certain level of knowing people.
So is that what makes him so different from all the other nightclub photographers? Well, it is one of the reasons for sure. His personality is so different, he gives you the chance to be yourself around him and his lens. But what else does he do so differently from everyone else that got him noticed over them?
Most people in town, I want to say, don't even come close to what I do. There's certain people who just go around and just look for pretty girls and just take pictures of pretty girls, and then that's all they'll upload. And some of them use way too small an aperture, and all you can see is what the flash hits. You can't see any of the club lighting. That's most of them, actually. Like, I think I'm one of the few that in, like, let alone Toronto and Waterloo, that actually use ambient lighting or expose for the ambient lighting instead of just getting flash. I sort of, when I make albums anyways, I try to like make a story out of it instead of just a bunch of random photos. So I'll try to put like 3 or 4 together that tell a little 5-second story instead of just like random.
Photographers look for beauty in everything, no matter if it be the perfect golden orangish sun barely still above the horizon, or that huge brown cow standing in a field of grass as green as organic lettuce. Everything has a reason. Everything has unpronounced beauty. The way a photographer's mind finds that beauty is extraordinary compared to most. So I asked Tom one last question. What is a photograph?
When I look at a photograph, there's a lot of analysis that runs through my brain. Like, I think about composition, texture, shape, form, color, contrast. Like, there's a lot of different there's a whole lot of different things that run through my head when I look at a photo. But like, I guess the main thing is just the whole like freezing a moment in time.
So next time you flip through that old photo album or look at the sepia tone photographs scattered across your living room wall, remember who was behind the lens. Who captured that perfect moment that you want to look back on or show off. It could have been your mom, one of your best friends, or these days, even yourself. When I pick up my most cherished photographs and look at the bottom right corner of them and see the printed name of Immortal Culture Media, I will always be thanking the man behind the lens, Thomas Emptage, and be ever grateful for the stories I have to share for the rest of my life because he was there, capturing the moments that can never be recaptured again. He has made my most valuable memories stuck in time. What could possibly be next for this talented man behind the lens? Burning Man Festival in Nevada? Electric Forest in Michigan, perhaps? Maybe even going on tour with Sander Van Doorn around the world as his official photographer. Only time and the click of a shutter will tell.